Good morning and welcome to the Jen Taub Show. You are not going to see this anywhere else but here. And this is the first of several episodes that you are going to want to watch. So if you're not already a subscriber, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Hit like, hit the thumbs up button and the bell. Trust me, this is going to blow your mind. It's all about Donald Trump. What I'm starting here today is building a case, doing the investigation based on just the public information we know so far to form the foundation for a criminal case against Donald Trump for the sexual abuse of children. Now, I just want to lay out what evidence we have and build this. And I'm doing this through a timeline. And today is day one as we add to this. And the doozy of a confession from Donald Trump on Air Force One yesterday is a key piece of the puzzle. Now, let's just back up. I know anytime someone says the word criminal case and Donald Trump, there is a PTSD experience. There were 2 federal criminal cases brought against him, one related to the documents he was hoarding, national secrets at Mar-a-Lago and elsewhere. Another case dealt with his literal work to facilitate a coup and interfere with the transition of power, something that we really haven't seen done in this country since the interregnum between when President Lincoln won and he was supposed to be sworn in when the South seceded, right? But that flopped too because it took too long and the Supreme Court tried to immunize him. We don't know if he would have been fully immunized for those crimes, but it was too late. The clock was run. And then, of course, we also have the case in Georgia. And then, of course, his conviction on 34 felony counts out of New York, for which he was not only found guilty by a jury, but also fully sentenced by the judge, but because he was about to enter the White House again, got less than a slap on the wrist. So when I say to you, criminal case against Donald Trump, I know that it may feel a little bit like this could be a bait and switch. But friends, this is about us taking hold of our democracy. And this is not about a federal case because you know damn well that Pam Bondi or any of her replacements ain't going to bring any criminal case against him. And you know damn well that if he decides to resign like an hour before the next, that if he decides to resign so that JD Vance can step in even hours or days before the next president takes over, please God, let it be a Democrat, you know he'll get a pardon, right? So I'm not messing around with federal cases. I'm talking right here and right now about New York. And as you may know, the prosecutor for criminal cases in New York, where he resides or resided at the time these took place, was the Manhattan District Attorney. Now, this gets complicated because some of his activities likely happened in Florida. But for right now, can we please entertain the idea that we, the people, are entitled to pull together the facts that we have to see whether we believe Donald Trump is a child sex predator. Why am I bringing this up? Because not only should the focus continue to be on the cover-up of the Epstein files and the already immunization of Ghislaine Maxwell and is set up to have her pardoned, right? They're already trying to whitewash that. And we're doing our best. And the victims are speaking out saying Ghislaine is a monster. she wasn't just a facilitator. She literally raped children herself. That's a fact, right? Sexually abused the children with her own body. She wasn't just a bystander. She wasn't just running the telephones or going out, which is bad enough, and procuring girls out of schoolyards and from their, teenagers from their jobs. She was actually participating in the sexual abuse. But I want the focus to be right on Donald Trump, because given how weird he has been acting recently, I am becoming more and more convinced of two different things. First, that he was not just hinting at liking teenagers, but I actually believe he sexually abused at least one, if not more. And by that I mean children, people who were not 18. And I believe it's a hypothesis. And I'm beginning to believe, now that we learn more about the Epstein tape from prison and the way Bill Barr misrepresented it, I'm now beginning to believe that Jeff Epstein was actually killed. And I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but what I will tell you is he was not being watched well, and the tapes that they have given us have been very misleading. For today's show, however, I want to zero in specifically on what Donald Trump just said in a very possessive way about a 16-year-old who Virginia Roberts, now she is deceased. Her married name was Jeffrey. Virginia Roberts, when she was 16, high school dropout, working at Mar-a-Lago and as an attendant in the spa. Donald Trump knows now, and we know knew then, that Jeff Epstein stole her, hired her, he said, away. And he knows damn well, although he didn't mention it, what that meant. Jeff Epstein didn't run a spa. He didn't have any kind of business where he needed a 16-year-old to work. Donald Trump very much knew that if she was hired away or stolen, that she became somehow, in Donald's view, the property of Jeff Epstein. And Donald very well knew, because she was around all the time. Staff at Epstein's homes knew that. She was around in New York and various other places, Mar-a-Lago, I believe. I shouldn't say she was for sure in New York. I know she was at Mar-a-Lago and in the Virgin Islands, but she was around Jeffrey constantly. And as you know, Donald Trump had a home very close to Jeffrey in Mar-a-Lago. So we know that Donald knew that a teenage girl was, quote unquote, taken, is the word he used, from him, taken from him, as if she is physical property, as if she is chattel, taken from him for Epstein's sexual purposes, not just taken, but hired. So he understood that this was not just rape, but it was prostitution. And the word stolen. So I'm going to play you this. I'm going to play you what Donald Trump said. And I have the video for it. You may have only heard the audio on Air Force One. I'm going to play it for you. We're going to unpack it, and then we're going to put it into the timeline that I'm developing so we can actually see, is there a decent case to be brought against Donald Trump? What else would we need? Obviously, you need victims. Obviously, you would need Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony. We are going to lay out what we know, and then we're going to talk about what's missing and why this woman should not be pardoned, but she will. Okay, let's play it.
Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you?
Okay, you may not be able to fully hear. You're going to need, if you're not looking at the screen, you're going to need to look at the subtitles here and listen carefully what the reporter is asking. I'm going to play it all the way through once. And if in the chat you want to hear it again, let me know.
Certain reputation, obviously. Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them
young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young
Yeah.
women?
What did they do?
In the spa.
Jobs.
In the spa.
Yeah, it's people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah, he stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
About Virginia Jeffrey. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us. Okay. So much to say about that. The first thing I want to say about that is I want to, for you, let me just look in the chat. Does anyone need to hear that again? Does anyone need to? I'm just going to play the last bit of that again so you can hear it.
Taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah, he stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So is there any, before we get to the timeline, to put this in context, is there any explanation of someone complaining about a friend, saying they stole this person from me? Now, a couple things. The reason why he was asked this question is someone in the press had asked, why did you have this falling out with Jeffrey Epstein? And there's been different stories over the years. The most plausible one is they had a big fight in 2005 over a piece of real estate, and Donald got really pissed off. There are people who suggest that it was after that fight that Donald decided to turn in Jeff or report him to the police, suggesting there were young girls at his place. And that might make some sense. Now, it could be all of the above, because clearly, even now, many decades later, we're basically talking about 25 years ago, he is still carrying around the resentment and the perspective that his friend stole someone from his business. Now, one way this might make sense is a business manager or owner, like at a restaurant, who's upset that the restaurant down the street, run by his friend, has hired away an employee and paid them a higher wage. And the good thing is there are laws protecting employees. Most non-compete, unless you're going to pay someone extra for a non-compete agreement that's limited in scope in terms of description and geography, in most states, employees are free to get jobs anywhere. And it's very selfish and very much anti-market for business operators, managers, and owners to try to restrict the ability of their employees to get higher wages, right? We're supposed to let markets work, but not for labor. So in some sense, it's already bad if they were just talking about if Jeff had a spa and he was hiring her and other employees away. But that's not what the story was. Donald Trump is saying that he stole her, meaning he took an employee, and even this, it's even worse than this. He took an employee, recruited away, it was through Ghislaine Maxwell, to become a essentially sex slave, a child. She was raped by Epstein and Maxwell. So both Jeff and Ghislaine raped her, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. And then they, as she said, passed her around like a platter of fruit to all these wealthy men. They trafficked her, including to Prince Andrew. Yes, Prince Andrew of former royalty, right? Prince Andrew. So this is what she experienced. And it was very difficult for her to escape. And it was only later when she got married that she was able to someone who was working at one of these overseas properties, or maybe in, I forgot whether it was overseas or it was in the Virgin Islands, that she did finally get away. So Donald Trump has all of that context. And instead of saying, I was upset that Jeffrey preyed upon young girls and sexually trafficked them, and that he was going into my establishment and using Ghislaine to recruit them. And he didn't have expressed any empathy for any victims. He knows Virginia is no longer with us. She is committed suicide recently. No empathy at all for the suffering that Jeffrey made her go through. So instead of saying, the minute I found out that Jeffrey was recruiting girls for sexual abuse and rape, I wanted nothing to do with him. He didn't say that, right? He said he stole her from me. What that sounds more like when you hear it, right? And I want to share this. I'm going to share this image because it's from my thumbnail. What that sounds for today's show, what that sounds more like to me than anything else is that the way Donald looked at it, it's not sympathy for victims, not a sense that whether she were 16 or 18 or 20, not the sense that women are real human beings, that girls and children are actual human beings with feelings and futures and their own perspective and goals in the world. Instead, people are property to him, especially women. That's why he always comments when he sees girls and women about how they look. It's like he's grooming them in his mind. Remember, he once said to someone when he saw someone's 10-year-old daughter, "Oh, I'm going to be dating her in a few years." It is very creepy. So I want to share with you, I'm sorry, I got this image, and you can get my perspective and why I think, here we go. I'm going to share this with you. This is how I think Donald Trump looked at it. It's basically, he is saying now, and this is a picture that she had used herself later. This is Virginia Roberts around the age that she was. She was 16 when she first started working, and a few months later turned 17. This is Virginia Roberts, and Donald Trump's view is that she was mine. She was mine, and Epstein stole her. She was mine, and Epstein stole her. I want you to think about how that sounds when I say it like that. He stole her. Donald Trump was likely grooming, looked at this girl who was 16, thought in 2 years, maybe he could date her. And you may say, Jen, Are you sure? That's extreme that he would be thinking that. It's not. It's literally what he has said before, and he has boasted about walking in on girls that very age at teen beauty pageants that he helped organize with people like John Casablancas, who got into a whole bunch of trouble later. We'll get into that. And he's talked about their various stages of undress. He also, and we're going to get to this, dated at one point a 20-year-old who had, prior to his dating her, been sexually trafficked by Jeff Epstein. I need right now, yes, and Sylvain says he ran beauty pageants for 20 odd years. Okay. Let us go through this timeline, right? I want to start, and we're going to be building this. Remember, if you just joined the show, what I want to lay out here is what we know so far based on things Donald Trump is saying now in the past as to Donald's timeline, as to over time indications that Donald Trump has no qualms about, and maybe, if we have evidence, actually did sexually assault or rape children. Of course, you know, and we've played an excerpt from it. There has been that specific allegation that was dropped. But I want to show you the full context, what I'm building, because where I want to get with you over the next few days, and as we pull this together, is the statutes, the criminal statutes in New York that would address Donald Trump's conduct, even conduct from the 1990s. Now, you may say, but wouldn't there be a statute of limitations? Well, it turns out we need to look at that. But my understanding is things like child sex abuse, at least at the federal level, there is no statute of limitations, first of all. At the state level, I have to look at that. But remember, New York had changed the civil laws, which only gave a short window if you were an adult at the time of the assault to revive the claim. But I'm not looking, I want to look at all of that. My suspicion is, whether it's federal or it's state, that there could be claims. And we are going to first look at our facts, talk later in the week, talk about the holes, talk about what Ghislaine may know, and then look at what we would do if we were investigating this case. Who would we be speaking with? And let me tell you, unlike Todd Blanche, my first phone call wouldn't be to Ghislaine Maxwell. I would be speaking to the people who actually are victims. I would be speaking to the people who have accused Donald Trump of sexual assault, even as adults, to see if they had any information about this at all, as well as the woman who goes by the pseudonym Katie Johnson, who said Donald Trump raped her. I would be meeting with her. Why are they meeting only with the person they are trying to shut up? Okay, let's start with the timeline. Here we go. I'm starting with the slide that I have shared with you before, where Donald Trump said recently about Jeff Epstein, basically this: I don't understand why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. A big factor to whom? To Donald? No, he was a big flippin' factor. This was Donald Trump being very pissed off that this story won't go away. This has been several weeks. I think it's been over 3 weeks since Pam Bondi tried to say this is done, case closed, we're releasing nothing. Okay, let's go. Now, I want to share this next picture with you to give you a sense of something. This is a photo from 1987 of Donald Trump's first wife, Ivana. And I'm showing you this picture because they got married, I think, I just checked, it was 1977. And this was when all three of the children they shared together were young kids. You can see Donnie up in the right from as we're facing it. Then right below him is Eric. And then to the left is Ivanka. And of course, in the center in her little houndstooth checked jacket and big blowout is Ivana. I look at those kids, and obviously, just to give a sense, there's a reason why I'm trying to figure out their age, but you think of it this way. The oldest any of them could be, because I don't think she was pregnant at the wedding, would be around, 9 or 10. So I'm looking at, 1987. How old was Ivanka then? Let's see, she was born in 1981, in the fall of 81, and this looks like it's winter. So, at that point, was she 6? Probably. So let's look at that. She's 6 years old. I just want you to see that. That's about what a 6-year-old looks like, right? Okay, let's look at our next slide. This is 1990, 3 years later, when Donald and Ivanka get divorced. The photo you're seeing is from 1989 when they were at an event together, Donald looking arrogant, Ivanka looking up with him with some kind of hesitation. It was, to be clear, in the very contested divorce, she accused Donald of having raped her in 1989. So in this photo, the divorce was 1990. The photo was taken in 1989, around the time the allegations happened. She tried to recant that in a book she wrote, but the evidence is there, and she did not say the events didn't happen. What we know from what she said at the time was, and it's been published since then, the allegation was Donald was going bald, and he had some sort of hair transplant, and it was very painful, and he was angry at her, and they got in some fight, and he was so angry that he was in pain that he pulled out chunks of her hair and raped her. Okay? And that is what the story is. This looks like she's around the same age. So this is when she is 10 years old, and she's dressed up, and he's holding her hand. There are lots of gross photos of her sitting on his lap. I'm not sharing those with you, but he was out and about with his daughter, glammed up. A year later, he is hanging out at Mar-a-Lago with Epstein, right? And they're checking out models together. This photo is 1992. Okay, I'm just laying out the groundwork. We're not, just to be clear, there's nothing in here that demonstrates any kind of criminality. I'm just showing you, giving you the context for what is to come next. Okay, so then this is 1993. In 1993, they were so close that Jeff Epstein was invited to Donald and Marla's wedding. This is Jeff showing up. This is from a photograph that CNN just recently unearthed. Okay, so right now I'm just showing the relationship with Jeff Epstein, right? This is going to go to how close they were and the knowledge that Donald had if he was around Epstein in his homes or in traveling with him at all. People say that if you walked into his home in New York, I'm not sure if Florida was the same, there were naked young girls' photos on the wall. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, let's not get to that in a second. In New York, we just saw there was something, Michael Wolff, I think he's talked about it before, but Michael Wolff, the person who spent hours and hours interviewing Jeff Epstein, was on the Midas Touch yesterday saying that when he met with Jeff Epstein, Jeff in New York, at Jeff's mansion that was given to him by Les Wexner, essentially for free, that Jeff Epstein went into his vault and took out photos. Michael Wolff says the photos included a photo of Donald Trump, at least one of them, with 2 topless girls sitting on his lap. Wolff didn't say what their age was. He didn't say if they were over 18. The implication was they weren't, that they were topless, sitting on his lap, and that either in that photo or another photo, the front of his pants were stained. This is a photo that Michael Wolff said he saw. Okay, so let me just say, now I'm saying to you, that is, I don't know what year the photo was taken. I'm introducing that to you for the fact that that could be a piece of evidence. We should be able to see if that photo exists, if it wasn't burned, if it's in the files, it needs to be shared with law enforcement who will actually enforce the laws. Okay, what happens in 1994? So 93 is when Donald Trump marries Marla Maples. A year into that wedding, we have these allegations from someone who's going by the pseudonym Katie Johnson. This is a picture of her around that time. It might have been, I don't know if this is when she was 13, the photo, but this is a photo she has shared with the public. So Katie Johnson said, and this came out in some lawsuits in 2016, right before the election, that were dropped, saying that she was raped, she claimed, by Donald Trump when she was 13 years old, that happened in 1994. And there are some explicit details about that. Again, the complaint is public record, but has anyone spoken with her recently? Has she been paid off? Is she afraid for her life? These are pretty serious allegations against Donald Trump, and that this happened at one of Jeffrey Epstein's homes, 94. So we've got two things: those photos and these allegations. Why have these not been further investigated? Then we get to 1996. Let's be clear, Donald Trump is still married to Marla Maples. You can't find a year when Donald Trump isn't either having a consensual affair with somebody, raping somebody, raping somebody as in E. Jean Carroll, right? Or doing something lecherous toward young girls. So this is 1996. And I'm going to remind you, on the right is Maria Farmer. On the left is her little sister, Annie. And with this, Maria Farmer said that, and she brought this up, right, immediately in 96. She was in her 20s, and she recalled being scared as Mr. Trump stared at her bare legs, right? She was brought to Jeff Epstein's office. She'd been hired to help be an art consultant after she had been recruited from some art show after she graduated from art graduate school. And she's talked about what happened there. Her paintings were for sale at this art show. Folks wanted to buy them, but then the head of the school, her last name was Guggenheim, I don't know if it's any relationship, came up to Maria and said, no, you cannot sell your 3 paintings to the people you want to. You must sell them to Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell for less money, but they'll make it worth your while. And then she introduced them, and the rest is history. Maria went there and was told that she was in New York, told that she was going to be doing some kind of internship involving art, and that she would go to Ohio to do that, some kind of fellowship. And she was living at one of Les Wexner's places. And at that location, Ghislaine and Jeffrey tried to sexually assault her, and she escaped and was threatened. And then she checked in with her sister, Maria, her sister, Annie, that was Maria, Annie, she had arranged for her to have some work out at Epstein's place in New Mexico, not knowing this guy was a predator. And Annie, who hadn't wanted to say anything, told her that she was sexually assaulted by both of them. Okay, but before that happened, Maria said she recalled Trump, that she'd come to the office at night, Jeff Epstein's office, which she said was in the Helmsley Tower, which is in Midtown Manhattan, and said that Donald Trump was there at Epstein's office late at night, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night, that Trump stared at her bare legs. And then Mr. Epstein entered into the room, and she recalled him saying to Trump, no, she's not here for you. And then after the men left the room, Maria Farmer said she could hear Donald Trump commenting that he thought Maria was 16 years old. Again, another piece of evidence. If Epstein said, she's not for you, but Donald thought she was 16 and thought she was for him. What does that say about girls that might have been procured for Donald? Again, this is just a piece of potential evidence here. What do we have next? And so just to be clear, this is 1996. In 1996, the same year, Donald Trump was found liable for sexually assaulting. They call it sexual abuse in the case, but it involved violent penetration of E. Jean Carroll's private parts with his fingers. I consider that rape, and that is a definition any normal person would give of rape, but under New York law, unless it was his itty bitty penis, which she wasn't sure if that was inside of him. Unless it was his penis, and it's not considered rape under New York law. It's called sexual abuse, right? You could rape someone with any object, whether it was your fingers or something else. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying if this were done in New York, they wouldn't call it rape. The rest of us would. So Donald Trump essentially raped E. Jean Carroll in a dressing room and was found liable for that and for defaming her by denying it. And he owes her over $83 million. That happened because of how he damaged her reputation. That happened in 1996. Okay. And this is, you can see Donald on the left. You can see E. Jean right there. And Donald, when he looked at that photo deposition, thought, even though he kept saying E. Jean wasn't his type, he mistook her for Marla Maples, who was his wife at the time of the assault. This photo was probably taken earlier before he and Ivana divorced, although they hung out together even after they were divorced at times. That was 96. Let's look at 1997. In 1997, again, I think at this point, he's still married to Marla. Marla Maples, when did they get divorced? I mean, it's kind of amazing. Marla Maples and he got divorced they separated in 97. So this is around the time. So he was married to Marla at the time he raped E. Jean Carroll, which makes a lot of sense because she looked like Marla and he treats all women as his property. Okay, in 97, he separated and then eventually divorced from Marla Maples. So now he is again bachelor out on the town, and he is flying with Jeff Epstein often from. This is Donald hanging out in February of 2000 at Mar-a-Lago with Melania, who is his future wife at this point, and with Jeff Epstein. Now, there are stories Michael Wolff claims, Jeff Epstein claims he introduced Melania to Donald. He claims it was some other modeling scout. It's not entirely clear. Then we have, and this is super important, then we have the article. I'm sorry. I've got, let me just say, this is in February of 2000. Let's go back now to this picture. It was right around that time. Let me just show you. When this happened, when they were hanging out at Mar-a-Lago in February of 2000, was right around the time that Virginia Roberts Giffrey, but she was Virginia Roberts at the time, was a 16-year-old working at Mar-a-Lago as an assistant in the spa. She turned 17 around then, still a child. And this is when, right then, Jeffrey stole her. He said she was mine. He stole her. That is when that happened, right around then. Then what do we get? 2002. So 2 years after Donald Trump claims he was upset that Jeffrey Epstein had taken his property, a teenage girl, and he was upset not that he took her to be raped and trafficked, but that she was his. It was 2 years later that we get this famous piece in New York Magazine, and here is a screenshot of it. The article was called Jeffrey Epstein, International Money Man of Mystery. It was published in New York Magazine. You can see in this caricature Bill Clinton next to him. It says this, what Trump had said here was, I've known Jeffrey for 15 years, terrific guy. The magazine reported Trump saying this in a phone interview. Quote, he is a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side, no doubt about it. So he knows it's 2002. It's 2 years after he was angry that Epstein stole her. He knows what Epstein was doing with her. He's not upset that he rapes girls. In fact, he says he's a lot of fun to be with and he likes to rape young girls. That is what Donald Trump is saying here. That was 2002. That is what the video evidence yesterday of him saying he stole her tells us. It puts it in context. And now we have, of course, 2003. And this is when, putting all the pieces together here, right? We're building a case for why criminal charges should be brought against him. We need to know more. Maxwell, this is Ghislaine Maxwell collected these letters for Epstein's birthday book in 2003. Now it's 3 years after he stole her, right? Supposedly stole her. Unbelievable. Thank you, Michael McAndrews. You're very kind. So this is this birthday letter that he wrote inside of, it was typed up inside of maybe a drawing he did or staff did of a naked woman with his signature, that scribbly signature as her pubic hair. And this is the part where the voice here, I'm going to read this again so you know, voiceover. There must be more to life than having everything, the note began. Donald, yes, there is. But I won't tell you what it is. Jeffrey, nor will I, since I also know what it is. Donald, we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, yes, we do, come to think of it. Donald, enigmas never age. Have you noticed that? Jeffrey, as a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you. Donald, a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. What secrets are they talking about? What happened the last time they saw each other? We don't know. This is 2003. Then all of a sudden, a year later, 4 years after Donald Trump claims he was insulted and angry because Jeff Epstein stole a teenager from him, they were fighting over a mansion and they apparently had a falling out. Again, I've heard people say the connection here was Trump doesn't like to lose. He was, ultimately the number was bid up because Epstein was part of the bidding. He was very, very angry. Donald Trump ultimately wins. And that is when some people claim, I don't have evidence of this, he turned Jeff in so that they actually parted ways. It was at this moment that he looks back and said, Jeff Epstein is always, you're hearing this first. Here's the mentality. Girls are property. Women are property. Employees are property. Donald Trump doesn't want competition or people to steal things or to take it from him. Jeff Epstein was trying to take this property from him. That's how Donald Trump looked at it. And this pissed him off. This piece of real estate was the same to him as a girl. Not human, doesn't care about her as a real person and her abuse. It's all about Jeff tried to take something from me. Donald Trump is the most possessive and acquisitive person. So you see that this might have triggered his anger at that point. Again, there are people who said this is when Epstein got turned in by Donald. No one listened. Epstein starts getting investigated in 2005. No one listens, I think, to the girls. But when Donald, a rich guy, says something, then they start investigating. Donald dropped the dime, some people say, on Epstein. Okay, now there's more I need to give you in context. What happens in 2005? Donald marries Melania in 2005. Now, keep in mind, Donald doesn't have Jeff Epstein to pal around with and give him teenagers, maybe, or young adult women in their 20s after they have aged into acceptable use for his exploitative purposes, right? So what is he doing then? Well, he marries Melania But is he faithful to her? No. What happens in 2005 is when, you may remember, the Hollywood Access video was filmed. It came to light in 2016. This is when, on tape, Donald Trump told Billy Bush that when he sees women, he just wants to kiss them, and that he just goes ahead and they let him because when you're famous, they let you. And then he said you can even grab them by the pussy. This is what Donald said. Melania later said, well, that was locker room talk. Interesting, because she had just married him. I'm surprised she wasn't upset that he was saying this. He was also talking about how he wanted to F one of his friend's wives. Anyway, but this is what Donald Trump said. This is on the left, a screenshot from a deposition from 2022 in the E. Jean Carroll case. When he was asked about the Access Hollywood comments, he said that he made them. And he said, historically, and Robbie Kaplan said, is it true that people can grab women by the pussy if they're famous? And Donald said, when you're a star, they let you, is what he said. Historically, that's true with stars. If you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately. So Donald Trump says, yes, you can grab women. At that point, he's talking about adult women, I would presume, not sure, but he's talking about treating people as property. Without their consent, you can grab them if you are a star, and they let you, like there are no consequences. And he doesn't think it's a bad thing, is what he's saying there. That is 2005. Also in 2005, Donald Trump goes on Howard Stern, one of many visits, and tells them that he could walk in on teen beauty queens. Well, guess what? These teen beauty queens, former Teen USA competitor, said that he did walk on them when they were changing as young as 15. That happened. So that is disgusting. Is that a crime? Doesn't seem like it, but it's a piece of his motivation. Now, let's look at December 2005. This is when Melania is pregnant. And you may remember, we have Natasha Stroinoff. She is wearing black, second from the left. She is a journalist who went down to do reporting with Trump right before the photo was taken. He took her on a tour, shut a door, pushed her against the wall, and tried to grab her, kiss her, just the same thing he said in 2005. Remember, this is December, so he said, they let you do it. Well, she was shocked. She tried to get away. Luckily, a staff person helped her get away, and she was horrified. She later testified under oath to this happening during E. Jean's trial. Now, again, she's not a child. I'm going to the fact about assault right now. And what do we also have? Also, in June of 2006, Karen McDougal, a Playboy bunny, Donald Trump starts having an affair with her while Melania is pregnant, or while the baby, while Barron is young. Similarly, there was Stormy Daniels, the adult film star, 2006. And then we have Donald Trump, one of his other interviews on Howard Stern. This is in 2006. And Donald Trump said, do you think you could now be banging 24-year-olds? Donald says, oh, absolutely. Would you do it? Asked Howard. I'd have no problem, Trump said. Can we just say even that language is very rape culture? It's not about consensual, whatever. I could just go on. Stern then asked Trump if he has an age limit. No, I have no age. I mean, I have an age limit. I don't want to be like Congressman Foley with, 12-year-olds. So 12-year-olds is his limit. Now, that suggests that he's fine with 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds. This is really creepy. It's not clear. Again, not evidence of a crime, but evidence of his intent. Then we get in 2020. So I'm skipped ahead now, right? That was 2006. I'm skipping now up to 2020 when Ghislaine Maxwell, this is after Jeff Epstein dies in prison, and this was the interview with Jonathan Swan, where Trump suggests Jeffrey Epstein might have been killed, and where he said he wished Ghislaine Maxwell well. That was 2020. So, show's almost over. I got a crazy town for you, but I just want to tell you, this is my timeline, just starting it now. But as you can see, some stuff in there, not criminal, but on its own shows motivation. The two things that seem exceedingly important pieces of evidence would be information from Katie Johnson, testimony from her that she's willing to stand by because she did put out these depositions or these affidavits in connection with the lawsuit she dropped. Katie Johnson, who claims that she was raped by Donald Trump. That would be important to interview her. Also, where are these alleged photographs? I want to know from Michael Wolff. I'd want to know when they raided Epstein's home in New York, where the photographs are with Donald Trump from the safe with naked girls sitting on his lap. And if there are photos of Donald Trump like that, there were plenty more. And I don't want to see any girls that are topless. I want to know who the men are in those photos and if those photos are real or if they're doctored or what have you, because that is evidence and it would help us build a case. And I want to know who are the girls in the photos because they are victims and they should be contacted. Their picture is being shown, was shown to Michael Wolff. That's unacceptable. These victims have not been consulted about even, the victims' rights were not respected when the non-disclosure agreement happened down in Florida. They weren't respected and aren't really being respected now. So one thing, someone's got to speak with Katie Johnson. Secondly, we need to know about those photographs. Thirdly, any of the girls who are adults now who said Donald Trump was acting creepy toward them at the teen pageants need to be interviewed. And this is where that is. So I am now moving into the part where I believe Donald Trump wasn't just encouraging or knowing that Jeff Epstein raped girls, but that he participated. I'm asking that question. AJ Vintage says she hears Katie Johnson is missing. That is concerning. Okay. Now, I got some crazy town. I know that was really heavy, but we're building a case. I got some crazy town for you. This is super crazy. Okay. Sometimes I actually think Donald Trump is chemically insane. Like, why not both? Why not? Sometimes he believes stuff, and sometimes he knows what's going on, and sometimes he's absolutely insane. I need to play with you what he said yesterday in front of a world leader because it's flippin' insane. Let's go.
It's up 6 wars in the last. I'm averaging about a war a month, but the last 3 were very close together. India and
Donald Trump, I'm just going to pop in here and then play it. He's claiming that he resolved 6 wars since he has been president this time, since January 20th. I mean, it's fucking certifiable. Sorry, it deserved the F word. Okay, let's play it. Let's play it now. 6 wars in the last. I'm averaging about a war a month, but the last 3 were very close together. India and Pakistan and a lot of them. Congo was just, and Rwanda was just done. But you probably know, I won't go into it very much because I don't know the final numbers yet. I don't know. Numerous people were killed, and I was dealing with 2 countries that we get along with very well, very different countries from certain standpoints. They've been fighting for 500 years, intermittently. And we solved that war. You probably saw it just came out over the wire, so we solved it through. What? certifiable, certiflipinfiable. The idea, it's an insult to the citizens of this country that this maniac is president. I can't get past it, but we will keep building our case. It won't take all of tomorrow's show, but you've seen the timeline. I'm going to deal with tomorrow with what the law in New York says, and I'm going to try to dig a little bit more into those pieces of evidence. It would be my dream to try to get Michael Wolff on the show. So I'm going to see if I can find someone who can find him for me. Okay. I love you guys. I will see you tomorrow. Have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous day. See you tomorrow.
Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show. Hello, prison mates. It's the Gen Taub Show. Well, how come everyone? Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub Show.